everybody, Steve here. So I haven't done one of these in a while. It's another episode of chatting with the Colonel. I haven't done one of these in a while, like I said. So found myself with a lot of time on my hands now, sitting here in my room, going on the fifth day. I've lost track since got my COVID prognostication. So I've honestly I felt fine after the third day. I keep any lingering effects or whatever are long gone. So I'm just riding out the time here. So I was sitting there today, going, well, I want to talk a little bit about what it's like over here in the UAE with the COVID protocols and some of the things we do, some of the things they do over here. And because it's such a night day difference from the States. Now, I don't want to get in the whole debate about what's right, what's not, what's, all of that stuff. This is just a simply, where I'm from in South Carolina, they don't do any of this. So, and is that good? Is that bad? I don't want to get in that debate. And, you have your thoughts. I think everybody's pretty much tired of it all here. But the COVID and the debate and everything else. So, in the comments below, let's not get in the debate about it. I just to simply here's life over here, and what I'm having to go through, share that with you. So, so I got over here in November of 2020, and I did a video of having to get the COVID test before I could fly, right? And I had to have a COVID test within 48 hours of flying. And so it was quite the adventure to go and to find a place in the States where I could get a test and get the results with enough time to be able to get over here. And so I was basically forced to do two tests. I had to take one, and they basically it was like at a CVS or something. They said basically, hey, it's going to take, it could take up to 3 days. I'm like, well, that doesn't help me out because so then I went the very next day, had another one and then, with the idea is that, and what I didn't know was as on my way over to Abu Dhabi, it was going to take 20 hours to get here or something traveling. If when I land in Paris, it was where my flight was going into, would I lose my validity there and all that? Anyway, so I ended up getting over here fine. And but then I landed in Dubai and I had to take another test. So at the time, there was a quarantine requirement here in Abu Dhabi. And that went on until they finally did away with the quarantine requirement. I think back in April or May, they did away with it. So, but before that, up to that point, if you were coming to Abu Dhabi and you landed, you had to quarantine for 10 days. And they would fit you with a GPS watch, and you sat in your hotel room, and you could order room service. They would deliver food to your room for 10 days. I'm having to go through that now, and it's maddening. So it's like being in prison. A nice big prison with your food you could cook yourself. So I guess it's not like prison. So, but I was telling the ravishing Mrs. Ritter yesterday, or the other day, what makes this so crazy, because I was telling her about being in the room, and she's like, what's the big deal? She said, I sit in the house and don't go anywhere, and that's, and I'm like, yeah, but you could go somewhere. And that's the thing, that's the little bug that gets in your brain, is even if you wanted to go somewhere, you couldn't. And that's the maddening part. Anyway, so they changed things. They started, so here in the UAE, I've kind of been following it. And it's kind of like it is in the rest of the world, as the temperatures got warmer, the COVID rates started going down. This was in 2021. We all saw the COVID rates going down. So they started kind of opening things up a little bit. They did away with the quarantine requirement. They lowered it. Then they changed it to, well, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to be quarantined. To now that they've completely done away with the quarantine requirement, as long as you tested and all. And so now, so that happened, and then now what they did do was everybody, you have your cell phone. You had to register for something called the Al Hosen app, and it's an app on your cell phone, on your smartphone. It basically, you put all your information in, and you have to go on the government's health center website, and you basically take a snapshot. I did get vaccinated back in May with the Johnson & Johnson shot is what I got. And so I brought the card back, and I scanned it, and I uploaded it to this website. So basically, as far as the government's concerned, I'm vaccinated here in the UAE. I'm vaccinated, even though I got it in the States. Now, at the time, what they said was, okay, well, you're vaccinated outside the country, so now you're exempt. So there's unvaccinated, there's exempt, and then there's the vaccinated. The exempt, basically, the people that can't get the shot. They got the shot, the vaccination outside the country, which I fell into initially. And then based on that, you have your Al Hosen app, and starting 1 August, this past August, to go anywhere in the UAE, well, not the UAE, Abu Dhabi is a lot more strict than other Emirates. So Dubai is none of that. And you can, nobody checks. No, it's more open. Here in Abu Dhabi, it's a lot more strict. And so anytime you go into a mall, you have to show your Al Hosen app. And if it's green, you're good. And if it's gray, it means that you were good, but it expired. And if it's red, it means you tested positive for COVID. So that's the 3 colors they look for. So they don't actually mandate the vaccine here. Now, what they do is basically you have a choice. You can get the vaccine and do that, or you can not get it. But that changes if you want the green Al Hosen app. If you want for it to show green and you're not vaccinated, you have to test every 3 days. And I just didn't want to mess with that anymore. So didn't want to do that. Now, if you're vaccinated, basically it fluctuated when the Omicron really took off. They changed it. It used to be 30 days, then they rolled it back to 14. So if you go test every 2 weeks now, that's how you keep your Al Hosen app green. That's the deal now. So so basically, if you want to go to any public place, if you want to go here in Abu Dhabi, if you want to go to the mall, if you want to, whatever, a lot of places they'll check your Al Hosen app. So now masks, they've always worn masks from the time I got here. Actually, what they used to do was masks, and they made everybody wear gloves. So the guys here were telling me, man, in the summer of 2020, when it was really kind of crazy, when nobody knew what was going on, everybody wore masks and everybody wore gloves, which here in the summertime would not be fun. But they've worn the masks. Everybody has to wear masks, and they've slowly come off of it a little bit. It used to be, you wear it everywhere, outside, inside, whatever. Now they have, if you are eating at a restaurant, you can, obviously you're sitting at a table at a restaurant, wherever, you can take your mask off. They used to say if you were riding in a car with somebody that wasn't your immediate family, both people had to wear masks. Well, they've come off that now too. So, and if you're exercising outside now, you can if you're jogging or whatever, you don't have to wear a mask. So they've come off of that a little bit. That's the big thing. Testing here is easy. There's test centers everywhere, and it's cheap. It's like $13 for a test. They used to do the really deep brain scratch, is what we always called it. And now they've come a little bit farther, not as far up the nose now, kind of just go inside a little bit. That's changed a little bit, but the tests come back quick. So it's ironic, when I was flying back for Christmas, it's a little bit more of a hassle in the States where I live to get the tests and to get it back in time. And you pretty much you have to get the rapid PCR test to be able to fly, basically, because all the other tests, they don't come back soon enough. Well, here in Abu Dhabi, it's pretty reliably within 24 hours, and most times it's like within about 6 hour turnaround, and the test is about $13.61 is what it works out to be. So it's pretty good, and it's fast, and you get in and get out. There's enough there, but they test everybody. They test the kids every 2 weeks for school and all that. So yeah, testing is just it's not a big deal, and everybody does it. And again, to keep your Al Hosen app green so that you can get in all the public places, you have to test. And the frequency of your testing is based on your vaccination status. So, like I said, I got the Johnson & Johnson shot back in May of 2021 when I went back home. I came back here, and they came back around, and basically it was the same thing. It was like, okay, well, we're not saying you have to get a booster shot, but if you want to keep your Al Hosen app green, then you need to get if you don't want to have to test every 3 days, then you need to get a booster. So again, I went back after I got back, and went and got the Pfizer booster. So I'm boosted now too. And then about a week later, I got COVID. So we've had people at work, some of the Emirati pilots that come through, and we'll get the word, hey, so and so's got tested positive, and we did this all the time when I was in active duty in the Air Force too. Pilots don't like to get sick, because getting sick means you don't get to fly. So you want to talk about probably the most unsympathetic group in the world is pilots around sick people, because they're like, man, don't be bringing that in. Don't come into work sick. And I remember in the flying squadrons, it was like, oh man, I don't feel good, but I got no. Don't be coming. Don't bring that here. Don't be coming to work sick. And it's kind of the same here. Hey, if you guys, if you're around somebody, family member, test positive, hey, go get tested. Basically you got to get a test to get cleared, and okay, now you can come back to work. So, but anyway, I started feeling last week on Sunday afternoon. I started getting a little bit of, and that's another thing. I talked about this before, but all my years, obviously, you pay a lot more attention to your body as a pilot, especially the sinuses, because guys have been grounded before, like forever, permanently, because you flying when you're sick or full sinuses, and you get the pressure changes climbing, and the sinuses and the air inside your sinuses expand, and you could rupture your sinus and be permanently grounded. They're blowing eardrums out, things like that. So I've always been really, really careful about paying attention to my health and colds and sinus problems and things like that. So about Sunday, I started kind of going, felt a little like something coming on. I'd had a little bit of a head cold over Christmas, some stuffiness. That ended up being nothing. And then I'd gotten a head cold back in November, right before Arlene came out to visit. So I'm just going, okay, well, here's another head cold. And So I went into work on Monday and was feeling okay. But I was watching it and I started, a little bit, a little bit of little bit of tiredness. And then I woke up Tuesday and a little bit of achy. And I went to work and I said, hey, I violated my own rule. So, but I went in and did the sim and I'm like, hey, I'm not feeling good. And I knocked the sim out. I finished. I said, "Hey, I'm out of here. I've got to go, and I'm gonna go sleep this off. I'm probably not gonna be in tomorrow." And I went and got me some medicine, and then hit the sack early that night, trying to sleep it off. I was thinking it was just a head cold. I'd just been boosted, for goodness sakes, and I woke up the next morning and I had a little bit of chills and I had some aches like along my side, and a little bit on the small of my back was a little like prickly, achy. I'm like, ooh, okay, yeah, that's it. And so I gave it a day. I was going, okay, well, let me just get past this. And that night I had trouble sleeping and woke up a lot during the night. And I had to get up and put some long pants on and sweatshirt to sleep and some socks because I had the chills. I was just shaking. And it's funny because the only long pants really that I had that were sleeping type pants, that I don't have sweatpants. All I had were like an old pair of Adidas like track pants that I had from years ago that I brought with me just for the 3 days out of the year here in the UAE that I would wear them. And it's funny, I was telling Arlene when I went to put them on, and I put my pants on, and I kind of, pulled my pants. I could hear the elastic all snapping and breaking. Their pants were so old. I had not worn them in so long. All the elastic. So I had to I felt like Jethro Bodine or something. I had to tie my pants up with the string and just tie it tight, to keep my pants on. But yeah, so for Wednesday and Thursday, I felt pretty poorly. Not terrible. I've been much sicker before with the flu. I'd really gotten sick back in 2015 here. When I was here, I had the flu, and I remember praying, God, I don't want to die over here. I mean, I remember I was bad. I was down for a week. I lost 10 pounds that week. And I was so sick. I remember when you have the flu, and I've had it a couple of times when your fever breaks. And I always remember watching movies and always fever broke or whatever. That moment where your body goes okay, and you're kind of past it, and I'd been hot and feverish, and I remember in the middle of the night I broke out in a sweat, and I woke up. And my T-shirt, and this was back in 2015. My T-shirt was soaked, and I had to get up and take my T-shirt off. And I'm like, holy smoke! And put it over the bathtub to dry. I get myself another T-shirt. I went through 3 T-shirts that night, just soaked. I didn't have anything like that. I mean, I had a little bit of a fever. I was taking some Tylenol. I did in the middle of the night, Thursday night, I did kind of wake up, and I think it kind of broke a little bit because there was no fever, but I felt better. I could physically feel that moment where I felt better. So I was never really down for the count or anything for this. I had some sinus, a lot of drainage, never a stuffed up nose, but just a constant, drainage now. Some color in it, but not anymore. Now it's all clear, what little bit there is. So just waiting. So what do I need to do to be able to get out of here now? So they've changed the protocol now. So here's the problem with Omicron. It's so contagious. So many people are getting it. It's not very severe for most people. And here in the UAE, what they used to do was if you tested positive, you had to go into a center and they would evaluate you. They'd look at you and say, Okay, if you had some comorbidities or if you were at risk, if you were heavier set, if you had some heart problems or other things, or if you were over 50, and they would basically, and they would say, when you come to the center, bring a bag, because they were keeping people, and they would do that, and you'd have to stay there in this it's like a barracks. You'd have to stay there, and you had a room, and you'd have to stay there till you tested negative twice, and they would test you every day, and as soon as you got second negative, you were cleared out, you were done. They used to do that. Then, or if you didn't really have any symptoms, if you didn't have any, they weren't really worried about you, they would fit you with a GPS watch and let you go home, but you had to stay in your house, and you had this tracker on, and they would keep it, and the only place you could go is back to the center to get this thing taken off and be tested. So thank God. Small blessings. I guess this is so contagious but not deadly, and there were so many people that were getting it that they kind of backed off. So when I got it, they basically, I checked the Al Hosen app. I'm like, okay, and there was a question, okay, what do I need to do to change this back to green? And I click on it, and it basically said, you test negative twice, and you're good, or wait 10 days. As long as you don't have any more symptoms, 10 days, and it'll automatically switch to green, and you're good, and you won't have to test again for 30 days, and you're good. And I'm going, wow, okay. I would prefer to get out of here because I'm starting to go. Like I said, somebody on the outside of this room has got a wheel, and they're slowly turning because the walls are coming in about a quarter inch a day. It's getting smaller in here. What's that? Starting to hear voices. What? Okay. All right. I'll tell them about that too. So it's been nice. I had food. I've been able to cook. I made a couple of videos. I'm making this video, watching some Netflix. I haven't done quite as well with Netflix as my mother-in-law, who she is Netflix fiend. And I asked her one time, I'm like, how many shows have you watched on Netflix? And she said, I beat Netflix. I said, what is that? She said, I've watched everything on Netflix. Oh, not that good. There's a couple of movies I've been able to watch, and some shows that I watch, and I've just kind of gotten to where I'm just not a sit around and watch TV all the time. Now I will watch shows with the Ravishing Mrs. Ritter. We watch our shows, and I'm a big fan of that. We love. I miss that very much, watching shows with her. So we usually talk about it and talk about good shows and everything else. So I do miss that very much. But no, I'm just I'm cooking and doing a little bit of work and here and there, and I've even brought my. Can you see it? In the back there, my guitar, there it is, see it right there? I've even taken that out and played a little bit, trying to dust off the fingers and all. But anyway, I'm just waiting now. So I went yesterday to get tested again. I'm going, okay, well, I'm feeling a whole lot better. I'll go get tested. And if I get a negative, then I'll go in today and get another negative, and then guess what? I can go into work tomorrow and get back to work. So I go in yesterday, and I go, hey, get tested. So I sit down, and the girl was doing the testing. They put the little thing up your nose, and she goes, what's your name? And I tell her. She goes, okay, well, when's the last time you tested? And I was like, a week ago. And I said, but it was positive. And she goes, her eyes get all big. She goes, so what? So you were positive? I said, yeah, I'm trying to get off of quarantine, so I'm looking for a negative test. And she's like, oh. And I was like, I don't mean to scare you or anything. I just, here to get tested. So, she had the full hazmat suit on and the visor and all that. So, they're protected. So she goes, okay. When she breaks the little swab out, she goes, okay, well, I'm just going to let you know that I'm going deep. I'm like, oh, come on. Yeah, so she did the. I felt some cognitive, reasoning scraped out of my brain a little bit when she went way up in my sinus after that. So I'm come back, and last night I'm sitting there and I hear the bzz, bzz, I hear my phone buzz. I'm like, oh, well, that's a good sign, because when I got my first positive test, it was like a full day. I mean, normally it's not quite that long. And I'm waiting and waiting and waiting, and sure enough, I mean, so if they take extra time, they're like, they want to double check. And I'm going, okay, well, it was only 6 hours or so. I'm like, okay, no, that's a good sign. And I go check my phone. Nope, another positive test. So, of course, they follow up, and they have government healthcare people that call up and say, hey, you tested positive. I said, yeah, I did. In fact, they just called about an hour ago, and I'm like, yeah, I did. And they said, well, was this your, I said, no, this is my second. She goes, oh, okay, well, then call this number for the quarantine thing. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I said, I'm already way past all this, man. I've been sitting here in my room for a week now, and I'm good. I've no symptoms. I'm all fine. Everything's good. And they're like, oh, okay, all right, never mind then, you're all good. So, dodge a bullet there. I don't want to have to go to that center, Anyway. Anyway, I thought I'd just share a little bit of that, what's going on with the COVID and how things are going. And I appreciate all your comments, all your prayers, and thinking about me. I'm doing fine. Everybody's doing fine at home. Benjamin should find out here in the next couple of weeks what his assignment's going to be. So he's about to graduate from the Coast Guard Academy. He's about to find out what his assignment's going to be. Now he's put in for Charleston, South Carolina. That was his first picks. So that'll be interesting. Of course, his big plan is, well, I can just live there at home and go to work. And I'm like, and he's like, man, all this money I could save. I'm like, what, boy? You won't save that much money. I mean, there will be some cost to you, my son. But I'm like, well, son, that's going to kind of cramp your style a little bit, if you start dating some girl and, she wants to see where you live, and so, oh, I'll live with mom and dad. I mean, that kind of cramp your style, wouldn't you? Well, I think he's thought that through. Oh, anyway, so all's well, hanging in there. Apparently there was some explosion last night or something around here. Everything's fine. I haven't nothing where I'm at, and everything's fine. So doing fine here. Everything's good. So thanks for listening for a little chat, and let me know if you have any questions down below, and I'll try to answer them. About what's going on here and all, but as much as I could say. But yeah, but like I said, all the debate about whether it's effective or not, or this or that, or the vaccines or whatever. I think that's all been played out by now. So, but anyway, I hope you have a great day, and thanks for chatting. We'll see you next time.